students of my school, all three wanted to drop out from the school. Why? A girl wanted to be the best badminton player in India, but there was no time for coaching. The boy wanted to represent swimming. There was no time for coaching. And a boy wanted to learn artificial intelligence and technology, but school did not permit. I did not permit them. No, this much attendance, these many classes, standardized test. Because KSD inspection will come, what is the absentees, give us the list. No, you are downgraded now. These many students were supposed to attend. CBSE, my board would say, no, 185 working days, here it is. But then Rahul gave us a solution. Why working days? Number of hours. So we extended the day. Attendance, they gave us a license, no attendance required. Today, when we presented in the last program, the girl has represented India, the youngest junior represented India in badminton. Wow. The boy has represented Asia in swimming, and the third boy who wants to learn technology is applying for an Ivy League university because he is smart. That encouraged us. Today, we have brought in another revolution, which will unfold it as the time comes, because ma'am, you said about the box, learning in the box, we have come out of the box. You spoke about artificial intelligence and machine age. We are talking about well-being and happiness. We are clubbing that well-being and happiness in the air so that there is not robots which we are producing, but they are designing their own thinking. With this, the team over here spoke very well about all the aspects of education. They've been asking you questions. They've been asking to make duck. I did not show my duck because it was looking like penguin. But I was very proud of it that at least I colored the apple blue today again and used my ball pen so that the duck, what the instruction was, had a bird, was penguin actually. And I continue to make penguins out of duck. That will be my motto in life. Any questions for the audience, please? Yes? Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question from the ground, from the perspective of being in the academics, especially for the head of schools and the technology leaders. As ma'am, you mentioned that teachers are afraid to take the jump in to change. From school management or from top level of the school, what will be the plan, or even from KHDA, what will be the plan or the strategy that you can provide teachers with to actually take this plunge and jump in? Because, you know, eventually when technology is invested in the school, it's the responsibility of the teachers to implement it. And if the teachers are afraid because they might not have the experience, they will say, oh, I have to do it anyway because I have to report to a manager in the end of the day. How would you prepare the teachers to actually to do this properly? Thank you.
So that's for me. Thank you. That was a great question. If the manager is not willing to take risks, it will be hard to ask others to take risks. So I think first of all you have to model. So you have sayings like walk the talk, and I think that is one part of it. I work in an educational system where one of the mottos is that we're all lifelong learners. When you take that seriously, it also means that we shall never think that we have learned everything we need to learn. The learning doesn't stop when we graduate. And that's one of my responsibilities, to then implement systems in a work environment, allowing for learning to continue. And also making that, in a way, safe for educators to feel that it is not just okay to learn new things, but that we want to continue to learn new things. And it's not only about incorporating technology, it's about anything. Now, I called or named this presentation Frontier Learners. And a training program that we have developed in our schools that we call Frontier Teachers allows teachers to be retrained, because it is about can't remember now whom of you had the presentation about you learn, you relearn, you learn, you unlearn, and you relearn. So as an educator, we have learned, but we have to unlearn what we learned, because everybody's gone to teacher college or done a master's degree and they've learned to become teachers in a system that was relatively old-fashioned compared to what we are aspiring towards. So we have to be able to unlearn our prior learning so that we can relearn something new. And to relearn to become maybe not teachers in the sense that we traditionally have thought of teachers, but more instructional coaches, or maybe the question askers. And that when a teacher becomes the one who is bold enough to ask a question and can also learn from the students, you create a very interesting dynamic in the classroom, where a teacher also can come into a classroom of 5-year-olds or 16-year-olds or 25-year-olds and feel comfortable about not knowing everything, being able to learn from them and share. We can guide the questioning. We're not necessarily the ones who have to have all the answers. And if we don't have half of the answers, I think we've achieved a lot of things in education.
If I can add as well to the response, there's been a statistic in the UK where they've seen an increase in homeschoolers, tripled almost in the last decade. There are many reasons for that. Some of it is, some people might not have the means to access education, while others have actually had a disbelief in the system. I think it provides a unique opportunity, especially with what His Highness launched about 2 to 3 weeks ago, where he allowed for online learning, distance learning, and actually giving it worth and value. Our biggest problem is we've put kids based on their age, not on their ability. We've split them into subjects that are so segregated rather than integrated. I'm more interested in somebody telling me I've achieved X, Y, and Z in the last 5 years than being in a system for 12 years and achieving zilch. I always also mention that in a human being's life, you are always in play with 3 components: time, money or resources, and energy. Children have all the time and all the energy, but might not have the resources. What if we actually gave them the questions that would answer their future? They start creating that future. I think Area 2071 and the Dubai Future Foundation does exactly that. It questions the big challenges that exist and it solves for them. Even the K-12, the milestones that we have, eradicate it. It is a lifelong learning process. Make it so. You have a lot of systems existing specifically in the West right now that are looking at micro-credentialing. You're no longer obliged to do a 4-year bachelor's degree program. You can do it in a much shorter time, taking the courses that you want that are in multiple pathways. So, and just reflecting as well on something that I saw on TEDx, you are no longer a one-purpose human being. You are a multi-potentialite. In this day and age, you can be a coder, a singer, a writer, an engineer, a maker, a gamer. You can be so many things. Why do we limit our kids and say, what would you like to be? One thing. There are many things you can be. I worked in hotels for 4 years. I trained people to work in hotels 3 years after that. I went into leadership development program and developed it for fresh graduates. I went into a whole of government leadership development program. I then went into project management and strategy. I have bounced so much that I've gained so much as a result. Then somebody saying, I've been 20 years as a teacher, and my answer to that is, what have you produced? Saying that you're a teacher for the last 20 years is not valid anymore. It's how many of those kids that you educated are doing something different today. Yani, even the concept of teacher has to change. Nobody can say, I'm just a teacher. Everybody's a teacher. I learned from my friends, from my mom, from my maid, from my neighbor, from my community, from the sports. You learn all the time. The question is, how do we quantify it and make it valid for reality? Where employers no longer say, what qualifications do you have? And rather say, what have you achieved so far in your life? And tell me, how did you achieve it? That's more relevant a question, in my opinion.
Any other question?
Can I maybe ask a question to the audience, if you don't mind?
Oh.
If that's okay?
Yeah.
Just, you have a question? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Sure.
you're next.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I would like to ask question like, how do we because there in our school there are some students that they are engaged in robotics and some are they don't have any interest of it, but they are required to take the course because that is part of the curriculum. My question is that how can we nurture a child or a learner, or how can we let them appreciate the purpose of taking that course? Because that is the very difficult thing to do as a teacher. Because how can we force a learner to learn that, like the appreciation of the course that they are taking? That's
Can I just have a go at that? That's a great question. Thank you. And I think that comes back to the duck experiment. I mean, we were all making a duck, but we made a duck that we felt something about. Okay, we did it very, very quickly, as you said, and normally with more time we would have done something differently. But that project, for example, just saying, okay, go and make a robot. If everyone's making the same robot, that's why it's boring. And that's the kind of thing, it's like sort of landfill learning in a way. It's you make it and you throw it away. It's not something that interests. So I think that the skill in the teaching is based around, I mean, we call it like project-based learning, for example. And that project isn't just a recipe to make a single kind of robot, but to make something that means something to you or to your community that you are passionate about. It's a bit like learning to code. I mean, there are people that just love coding, but there are not many people. And actually, it's coding for what? And so I think in the case of that one, I think the problem isn't the robot, it's the suggestion that there's only one robot. And I think that's the point. I think the skill of teaching, and good teachers know this. I think that's the answer to your question from myself. Anybody else?
Now, can I ask a question from the panel? I face parents every day. Majority of them have gone to the schools, and they say, when we were studying, this was taught this way. And why can't you do it this way? How can I make the parents unlearn and relearn? Can any one of you have a solution?
There was a study done in one of the school operators in Dubai that gauged parents' appetite to try something different. And what came out of that was a full 90% of the community of that school operator wanted something different. I think putting parents in touch with other parents who are the forward thinkers, the frontiers, is a way. I think there's a lot in terms of community engagement and getting them to sort of have a conversation about changing the mindset of this is what a classroom looked like in 1910 and this is what a classroom looks like in 2019. I think that is one strength that is underplayed at the moment. It's more about the school is the authority and has to give an answer. Going back to your comment is, you don't need to have the answer. The answer is created, it's co-created, it's designed collectively, and that needs to be informed. I know it's difficult, it's not an easy conversation to have, but it has to start. It's a dialogue that starts.
Let's also have a quick answer. I mean, it's interesting. One of the things that I did was very fortunate to do was funded to write a book, and part of that funding was to go all around the world. I went around the world about 5 times, and I lived in refugee camps. I went up mountains after an earthquake in China, but I went into some of the wealthiest countries as well. And I mean, I literally went everywhere and met parents and teachers and everything else. Something that I discovered in that time was probably for the first time, I think, in our history as a species, is that there's always been uncertainty about the future, but now there was uncertainty about the present. And this is a new thing, and it seemed that, and I don't dispute the point that you make, but what I'm beginning to see now, parents are asking a different question. They're asking, and regardless of their background, their social, cultural background, they're asking one question: how can my child thrive? What can I do for my child to thrive in an uncertain present, let alone an uncertain future? And I think that's why now is the time. I know we've had conversations about education reform since Socrates. I mean, not even Dewey and all that stuff. But I don't think we have generations to change. I mean, we are at a crossroads, I think, for humanity. That was the sort of dystopian slides that I show earlier. What we decide to do next determines whether we'll make it into the 22nd century, in my opinion. So I think that's the point. I think parents are now beginning to ask that question, and we need to get this conversation into the public domain as soon as possible.
Of course, working in the school, I recognize the challenge, because there are more than enough parents worldwide who are looking for change, but they do not necessarily all represent the students in one particular school. So of course, being directors or heads in a school, we do have that distinct parent body that we need to collaborate with, that we need to retrain in their thinking. And I think from where we are in our professions, we need to demonstrate that it works. And I think that's what we have been given an opportunity to do through Rahal. We have an opportunity to demonstrate to a larger audience, meaning only maybe our own parents in the schools, but that it does work. And what you have been launching in the school now, really showing that you can allow the students to take an individual passion and run with that passion while they're in school. Now you give time off in the school so that they can pursue the passion. And I think back to the question from the audience, how do you get students to be interested in the elements that they're not particularly interested in? Because we haven't yet found a key to eliminate everything in school. And we certainly will, if we believe that all ducks are different, we will never really be able to create anything that is going to meet everybody all the time. But if we manage to create a school environment where an individual student can take his or her passion into the school and develop it in the school, they will, through that opportunity, I am confident that they will become interested in doing the things that they like much less, because there is a balance. And having that opportunity is what we have been given now through Rahal, to demonstrate that you can create a space for the students to thrive and to develop something which is personal to them, which might not mean anything to the next person and the next person, but it means significantly something to them. Then you can get them to make a robot if that was what is required as well. And then our parents hopefully will come along and see that this works because my child actually is thriving, and the individual parent is most interested in that.
A small experiment which I did, the difficult parents would say that I learned mathematics this way, I would send him or her to the doctor, school doctor, and I will tell her, just go and say what disease or what do you want to ask. And he would say, I have a headache and all that, and doctor would prescribe. Then the counselor would sit out, did you tell doctor to give me this medicine? No, doctor gave the medicine, so leave teaching to us. And slowly we form a small army of such parents who became our core group, and then they started talking to the parents that leave teaching back to the teachers and to the school. We studied in the way back in Industrial Revolution when there was a process manufacturing, stamping, quality control. The school is experimenting, let's be with them. And that is how we got 1,200 parents to agree on Rahal.
I think that's a good way to, oh, there's one more question.
First, thanks for everyone for this beautiful talk. Like, it was really beneficial. I just have one comment. I'm a counselor, I'm a counseling psychologist, and I worked not only in Dubai, I worked in more than one place. And sadly, one thing I see that the education system and the management system in schools work against the human nature, or not the human nature, but the psychology of the student. When I am trying, not only in Dubai, I've worked other places as well, when I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do as a counselor, as someone who listens to the students, who empathizes with them, I am still asked to do the other paperwork and the things that I know that children don't really care about. We have to finish all these graduation requirements, but in the end of the day, they didn't learn anything. Okay, at the end of the day, they tell me that okay, the school wants me to do the IELTS, the school wants me to do the SAT, whatever, but I don't even know what do I want to study yet. I don't even know who do I want. And then I have to go into a complete and big battle of convincing them that, okay, there are more important things. Okay, they are still kids. They need guidance. They need facilitators, not necessarily instruction, do this and that. It's happening in the management system, okay? There are schools who are taking very good by the KHDA, and they are completely working against the ethics or what they need to be teaching to the students and what these students want to be learning. The rating, I'm completely like with what you're saying. It's not enough. Even as an employee or even as a counselor or even if I'll remember myself as a student, I have seen or I've been in schools that got acceptable and they are doing much better in terms of well-being, in terms of happiness, in terms of comfort between the students, between the staff, the healthy relationships. I don't know if there is a rating between employees, kind of interpersonal relationships. I don't know if there is one about that. But I think that it really affects how much we produce in our work. Okay, if I'm not happy as a counselor or as a psychologist or whatever in where I'm working, I am not gonna be able to do what I'm supposed to do, especially that my work includes listening to people and walking in their shoes and all of that. So employee relationships is also a very important part of your productivity. The student, you and the student, there's always this to-do list and deadlines and all the things that you're supposed to do. I feel that we are alienated from our real majors. We are supposed to be doing one thing. Our professors have done a great job in trying to be facilitators. I'm not going to teach you everything. You have to go and read. And they've done a great job. But when we come to the workforce, we are like shocked. What is happening? This is not what we are supposed to be doing. There are more important things. It's not only about KHDA. It's not only about papers, with all the respect, of course. It's not only about the paperwork. It's not about that. We have students who are suffering. What about stress levels? I work with grades 11 and 12, and they are so stressed out because of all the graduation requirements that they're supposed to do, and most of them don't really understand the point of doing them, except that it's only a requirement to graduate. Okay, and then what? What am I going to do with my life? It's not exactly a question, but it's a real life comment, yani. This is happening every day, and it's very sad. It's alienating to us as employees. It's alienating to the students. It's sad, and it's disappointing, and it's happening, and they are getting really high rates from where I was working before. They're getting really high rates, but I quit my last job because I wasn't feeling happy. I was doing really well. All my ratings were great. They were, oh, thank you. All my ratings were great. They were very happy with me, but I was like, I'm not happy. I cannot help anymore, and I have to go.
Thank you very much. I realize the time. Thank you for your contribution. I would like to thank, after permission from the chair of the panel, I'm just thanking everybody for their engagement throughout the session. I wasn't planning on speaking at all. I came to enjoy the show, and I did. Amazing people that I actually meet and discuss and work with very closely, but to see them all sharing their thoughts about the future of education is amazing. What you're saying is true, and a lot of parents, I meet a lot of parents, and mainly when we ask them, what do you want your kids, they say, we want them to be happy when they grow up, and that's quite true. So there is the well-being. So I just want to highlight one point. There is the well-being census, and it started, this is the second year. We've asked nearly close to 100,000 students responded to the census, and more than 13,000 educators responded to the census as well. So we care about the adults in the school, and we want the schools to care about the adults in the school. So if you are in a school, please have a go at the adults well-being census, because it's not just about rating the schools. It's about having your own personal well-being dashboard that you can always log it into. So yes, the well-being of everybody in the schools is quite important. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Could I just say something at the end? I just want to say a quick thank you to Hind and KHDA for setting this up, because I think it's been a great opportunity. I've certainly enjoyed listening to the fellow speakers, so thank you, KHDA.
Thank you very much.